I'm talking about surveying, construction and civil engineering, and the umbrella term for that will be the built environment. So when you're looking for courses at universities, often you'll find anything related to property, construction and some civil engineering courses may be housed under what's called a School of the Built Environment. So I'm going to try and talk to you a little bit about that. And when you pop out the other end after 3 or 4 or even 5 years of study, what's it going to be like out there in the jobs market, and how much would I earn when I graduate? Bit far into the future, but it's something you may want to think about when selecting your route through higher education. I'm not going to talk about Liverpool John Moores University in sort of specific terms. I will illustrate some of the material using our information. I'm going to talk broadly about courses on offer and points, but just to set it in context, what you're looking for is a university and a course where they have a unique selling point that you're attracted to. What is it about the university or the people you meet when you go on the open days, or the material that you're going to be taught, that interests you most? And you've got to, first of all, read around the universities and the subject areas you're interested in. And each university will market itself in a slightly different way. So, for example, our School of the Built Environment does pride itself on being the oldest built environment school in the UK. That means we've a proven track record in delivering courses across all property and construction routes. It's been around since the mid-19th century. So if we start with civil engineering, for example, I did a search on which university website, and when I just put civil engineering in, it gave me a number of courses which was in excess of 250, which for any of you looking at civil engineering means there's a very large wood for you to find the right tree in. You've got to then sift that through between 50 and 60 universities. The one thing that you need to be aware of with civil engineering in particular is that maths and science will be the route in for you in terms of your A-level requirements. Not all universities require A-level maths as such, but they will be looking at a science background. So look at the courses carefully in terms of what their entry criteria are in respect of the subjects you're studying now. If you think about construction-related courses, construction management, quantity surveying and building surveying, you've a smaller pool to select from, between about 40-50 universities, and a similar number of courses are on offer. And when you come down to things like real estate, which is effectively property and valuation and land management, or architectural technology, which is a relatively new sort of degree route, you're looking at, again, a much smaller pool, about 15 to 20 courses across the UK. When you're doing your research, look at alternative routes as well as a backup. You may find you're able to study a foundation course. Certainly our School of Engineering offer a foundation course, and that's entry level 160 UCAS points at present. What that enables you to do is to study perhaps for an extra year, but usually if you successfully complete something like a foundation course, you will be then eligible for entry onto the degree programme that you originally intended. Many property, construction and civil engineering courses are offered on a full-time and part-time basis. And also, look at the sandwich year opportunities. They are important, particularly when you're going for a vocational course, such as the construction, engineering or surveying route. If you have the opportunity to spend a year in industry, that will develop you as an individual, provide you with practical experience, and is a fantastic addition to your CV when you graduate. It's not a given that completing a sandwich year with an employer will automatically lead to a job with that particular organisation, But in many instances, our students do end up with the people that they worked for a year. One of the most important considerations that you have to think about when you're applying for engineering, surveying or construction, whichever one you're interested in, is the links to the professional organisations of which you will eventually want to become a member. I'll talk about the professional accreditation and why it's important just in a second. But I think because you are looking at vocational courses and programmes, do ensure that the university you select has strong links with industrial partners. So you get the opportunities to engage with the industry that you're going to move into. You go on field visits, the industry come in to see you at the university. And certainly at John Moores, we work extremely hard to ensure that our students get as much exposure to as many different types of organisations as possible. And it'll be your choice to engage with that. You may not yet have thought about the link between the degree programme you're thinking of studying on and where it fits into the industry. All these organisations currently accredit one or more programmes at the School of the Built Environment at Liverpool John Moores. And the same is true of many other universities and programmes. What is important about a vocational course is that when you graduate from your final year, you will have what is known as a professionally accredited degree. And that usually means that you go on, you're very employable, you go on into industry and you immediately start building up a diary of professional experience, which then allows you to become a chartered surveyor or a chartered engineer, a member of the Chartered Institute of Architectural Technologists if you followed that route. These are just a number of the organisations. So just to highlight the key ones. For any surveying course, what you should be looking for is accreditation of that degree by the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. For civil engineers, you're looking for accreditation by the Institution of Civil Engineers. And for construction management routes, organisations such as the Chartered Institute of Building, and I've already mentioned the Chartered Institute of Architectural Technologies for architectural technology programmes. It's a two-way process. The organisations do not simply add their name to a programme and say, that's fine, we'll accredit your programme. They come to the universities every year. The entry criteria that you're looking at for each programme is governed by the rules that the institutions have for qualified entry. So the RICS set a minimum threshold for entry below which we cannot drop. If we take too many students or any students who do not have the required minimum criteria, we would be under risk of losing our accreditation, and that would have a consequential impact on all our graduates who are not as marketable. So when you're looking through and sifting out programmes, please look to see that whatever vocational degree programme you're thinking of studying on, look to see who accredits it. In addition to that, all the organisations have websites, and all of them have an education section which will talk not only about the routes through to become a graduate engineer or a graduate surveyor. They will talk about the career opportunities. They will market jobs on their websites. The ICE, for example, has a very comprehensive family tree of the routes through to becoming a chartered engineer. With civil engineering, if you remember, I mentioned earlier, you can do either a B-Eng or an M-Eng. If you study a BEng degree in civil engineering, you will need to go on to do further study before then you can become building up your professional experience and become chartered engineer. If you study the MEng programme, you don't then have to do further study. You can start building up your professional experience. However, you may apply for an MEng programme but not get the points required, but you have sufficient to enter the BEng level. And what usually happens, certainly at John Moores this is the case, if you complete the BEng programme to the second year with sufficient level, you can then transfer over onto the master's programme before completing the bachelor's. So again, you've just got to look at and understand the different study routes open to you. Graduates from our programmes who are keen, have studied hard and know where they want to go and are determined to get there, will get there. It isn't a UK industry. We're talking about an industry that is global, and many students will not end up working in the UK. Often they'll explore other opportunities. We've had students go to Malaysia, to Australia, to China, to Canada, and across Europe. So don't think about civil engineering in the UK. Don't think about surveying and construction in the UK. You will find if you explore the website, these are global industries with global opportunities. And there are still skill shortages, not just because of the age profile. Graduate employment, again, if you go on sites like Unistats, what you'll find is you get all the record for each university about how many of their students have reached or gained employment within 6 months of graduation. For us, it's relatively high. Even within the recession, in some fields we were hitting 90 to 95% employment within 6 months. At the lower end, you might be looking at 85%. But it isn't the case that you will graduate and not find a job. Graduate surveyors and engineers and architectural technologists are in demand. And your starting salary won't be too bad. Probably no less than 17,000, up to at least 23,000, and that's before you've become chartered, so that's without your professional experience. And most organisations that you will work for will have a structured programme for training you, so you will get professionally qualified within the shortest possible time because they're going to be investing in you